is indeed a dark and disturbing time in our lives, ladies and gentlemen. This is dark and disturbing when the acts of journalism, holding people accountable, looking for information, searching out the truth, searching out facts, searching out for, real investigations to find vital information that society can benefit and grow from, is being silenced out, and being silenced out in a dangerous way. And it's dangerous for the journalist, it's dangerous for the press, it's dangerous for, constitutional rights, it's dangerous for all of humanity. Censorship is not just a single, game toke and move on from it. Censorship is a danger to all of humanity. And we're seeing it in full force, and it's getting even worse. It's getting even worse. And I don't know what's yet to come. And like I said, it is dangerous to the wholesome of society to not have the integrity and principles of being able to have freedom of speech and freedom of the press and freedom of, holding accountability, being able to be the watchdog, which we so desperately need in our society. So, Greg Price puts it perfectly by saying this is a wild story. So, it was accounted that last April, the FBI raided the home of an ABC journalist, James Gordon Meek, who was finishing up a book about Biden's withdrawal from Afghanistan. So, the FBI raided a journalist's home, a private home of a journalist, raided his home, just out of the blue, last April. And we're just knowing about this now. We're just knowing about that the FBI raided a journalist's house because he was working on a book about about the withdrawal in Afghanistan. And we're just learning about this now. He's been charged with no crime, abruptly resigned from his job, and nobody has seen him since. I think that's more than a wild story. I think that's a dangerous, deadly precursor, foreshadow of just the kind of sick society that we live in. The fact that we have a criminal cabal that's willing to track down on innocent people and go to the homes of private citizens and have FBI raids on journalists to silence out information. That is deeply disturbing. That is fascism to the next level. That is the stuff you can imagine in the 1930s during Nazi-controlled Germany. And it's happening on today's grounds. In 2022. The dawn of the information era. It is downright insane. So here's the article here. This is from Outkick. And like I said, this supposedly happened in April. And we're just learning about this information now. There was no word about it, no accountability. We're just getting reports now that because this guy has been missing and the FBI raided his home because he was writing a book about the withdrawal. So obviously something is up. Something that this journalist has discovered wants to be kept silent by the establishment. Something's definitely up with this. So it says the FBI raided the home of ABC News investigative reporter James Gordon Meek in April, according to a report from Rolling Stone. Meek resigned from his role at ABC immediately following the raid. His neighbors and colleagues say they have not seen him since the FBI searched his home. James Gordon Meek has vanished. Meek resigned very abruptly and has not worked for us for months, ABC News told the outlet. Federal agents allegedly found classified information. So when they say classified information, that means something that they don't want the general public to know. Something that would out them. Something that would blow something into proportion. Something that would shed a light to the darkness. That's why it's classified. It's classified because it's going to put them, meaning the establishment, on a spotlight, on a pedestal, which is what journalists are supposed to do. Journalists are supposed to have the integrity and push and stamina and moxie to go after the establishment, to tell the people, the viewers, the middle class people that are watching at home, to understand what's really happening in their own backyard. That's the fundamentals of being a journalist that are now being jeopardized by the federal agents, by the FBI, ordered by President Biden. I found classified information on Meek's laptop during the raid. Meek had been working on a book about Joe Biden's withdrawal from Afghanistan at the time. So obviously something this journalist has uncovered, they want to keep secret. Just like how the Afghanistan papers were released and then faded away in literally a day. Less than a day. They had the Afghanistan papers out in the open. It was published, I think, in the New York Times or something for like one day. And then they quickly took it away. And why was that? Because they didn't want people to read into it and understand that the whole 20-year surgency of being in Afghanistan was a complete, utter disaster. They didn't want people to understand that the reason we went to Afghanistan is not for humanitarian reasons. And I think already people know that, but they didn't want people to confirm that we were there on purpose because we established the war on terror. We're the ones that created the situation. We're the ones that created Al-Qaeda. We're the ones that created the Taliban and fighting our own creation. So we continue a war for 20 plus years. The reports say agents sought records in Meek's possession. That means U.S. Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco would have to sign off on the search, as a new policy enacted last year prohibits federal prosecutors from seizing documents from journalists. Rolling Stone provided the following details. Meek has not been charged with no crime, but independent observers believe the raid is among the first, and quite possibly the first to be carried out on a journalist by the Biden administration. I'd just like to go on the record that currently Julian Assange is being held captive. Julian Assange is still held in a torture facility awaiting extradition. So I just want to mention that. I also want to mention that a journalist from Germany had their finances taken away because they went to the Donbass region of Ukraine and actually reported objectively of what was happening over there. They had their entire livelihood taken away. House, assets, financial bank accounts, everything gone. People are losing their bank accounts from independent journalists. They're not able to support their livelihoods. They're not able to live. And considering we've seen how far federal agents and the White House, and no matter what administration, whether it's the Biden administration, Trump administration, Obama, Clinton, Bush, you already know how far this can really go. Look at the Seth Rich scandal. Look at what happened with, Edward Snowden. Look at what happened with people that are trying to investigate just simple truths that people should know about. And the FBI goes and raids them and possibly kills them. That's just kind of the Orwellian sycophantic nightmare that we're currently in right now. That journalism has become so deadly in 2022. I thought we were supposed to get more information. I thought that was the whole point of, the surgence of the internet and the information superhighway. But apparently now information is now, they don't want us to know. They don't want us to understand. They want us kept in the dark. It's like the Dark Ages. They want to keep the peasants unknowing because knowledge is power. And why is knowledge power? Because the more you understand about the shit that's happening behind closed doors, the more powerful someone becomes. And they don't want ordinary citizens to understand the true darkness that lives within the establishment. They don't want people to know that. An investigative journalist who worked with Meek told Rolling Stone that it'd be highly unusual for a reporter or producer to keep any classified information on a computer. His lawyer, Eugene Grovitov, denied knowing of alleged classified documents in Meek's possession. So he goes on, the lawyer goes on and says, Mr. Meek is unaware of the allegations anonymous sources are making about his possession of classified documents. His attorney, Eugene Grovitov, told Rolling Stone, if such document exists as claimed, this would be within the scope of his long career as an investigative journalist covering government wrongdoing. The allegations in your inquiry are troubling for a different reason. They appear to come from a source inside the government. It is highly inappropriate and illegal for individuals in the government to leak information on an ongoing investigation. But it's vital. That's why he does it. He's an investigative journalist. He is supposed to uncover what the government is lying to you. He is supposed to reveal what the government is shielding away from you. And obviously, this is something very important. Obviously, this is something that would blow things into proportion, and they don't want us to know. They don't want us to know. That's why they ordered an FBI hit on him. That's why they haven't seen him in years. Or months, I should say. Because it happened in April. And we're just knowing about this now. This happened in April. And we're just knowing about this now. We hope that the DOJ, Department of Justice, promptly investigates the source of this leak. And what are they going to do with that leak? What are they going to do? Are they going to release it to the general public? Are they going to let people know exactly what the government's doing? God, no. God, no. They're going to keep us even further in the dark, and then they're going to have misinformation police, just like they tried to do with Homeland Security. Remember the misinformation task force that the Biden administration pulled together? They're supposed to track down and criminally charge people for spreading misinformation? Bullshit. The biggest perpetrators of misinformation is the government itself. And the second is the mainstream media, because the mainstream media is puppeteering exactly what the government is saying. They're not holding accountability. They're not holding the establishment responsible for its actions. They're just parroting exactly what the government tells them to say. Those are the two biggest perpetrators of misinformation. And none of them have been criminally charged. But a journalist gets an FBI raid. The founder of WikiLeaks is held in captivity under a torture facility. People have been killed for releasing information that is vital to the general public. Meek's neighbors say they have not seen or heard from him since observing the raid. His apartment now appears vacant. ABC staffers stress his whereabouts are unknown. The report concludes that it's unclear that the story, if any, would have put Meek in the FBI's crosshairs, but noted he frequently worked on extremely sensitive topics involving terrorists. Extremely sensitive topics. Maybe, the idea that we created them, that Hillary Clinton proclaimed back in 2010, she announced out in the open that we created Al-Qaeda. We established a terrorist group so we can go fight against the Soviet Union back in the 80s. We did that. Western Hemisphere did that. The United States war empire created its own terror groups, let them roam free, built them up to the extremity that is now, and now we're fighting our own creation. Why? To perpetrate more war. That is what we are doing on the regular. So I don't know exactly what's sensitive about that, because we already know that the United States is the biggest exporter of terrorism. And it's also the same country that claims to be fighting it the most. We gotta fight the terror. We gotta fight these evil people. While we have evil, sick, psychopathic people, sociological, insane people that are controlling and running the country. Oddly, the story was also uncovered that ABC's sister company Hulu blocked an Emmy campaign that attempted to put a spotlight on 3212 Unredacted, a documentary based on Meek's reporting. The oddities don't end there. The book company Simon & Schuster, which planned to publish his reporting on Afghanistan, scrubbed all mention of Meek on its website. So do you think you live in a free country? Do you think you live in a free society that a journalist is being scrubbed away? Their entire livelihood, their entire reporting is being scrubbed away by the order of the establishment? This is exactly something you would hear in 1930s Germany. That Nazis would come around and extinguish and try to eliminate all reporting. that didn't fit the general manufactured status quo of the establishment. Because they're not just doing an FBI raid. They scrubbed him from his book publishing. They took him his documentary away from streaming. They want to completely eliminate this guy. Not just investigate, eliminate. So that anything that is being published, anything that this investigative reporter had published or has looked into, any investigation that he's done is completely scrubbed away from the general public. And they'll tell you it's for your safety. It's for your concern and safety. No, it's for their safety. Because what he is doing is uncovering something that they don't want spilled out. That's why they're doing this. That's why they ordered the FBI involved in this. That's why they're telling Simon Schuster, you have to scrub any details about this book being published. That's why they're telling Hulu, a streaming service, that you cannot air this documentary. Because the FBI is cracking down on journalists right now. The FBI is cracking down on people that are outside the establishment, true outsiders that are trying to investigate the shit that's happening right in front of them. This is dangerous, folks. This is absolutely dangerous. And this is what happens when censorship goes over the brink. And I know people have been cheerleading about Alex Jones being, having to pay that lawsuit, and people like Steven Crowder's not, on YouTube right now, and people are, cheerleading that, saying, oh, I don't have to listen to all that hate speech. Well, congratulations, because this is what you're cheering for. Because once you try to silence one individual, they're going to go after everybody. You now put a target on every single person's back. That's why I've been saying for the longest time that censorship is a straight cross the board. It's one or the other. You're either for freedom of speech for every single individual, or you're not. You can't pick and choose and decide who gets the right and who doesn't. Same with freedom of press. You can't pick and choose and decide. You can't have a cookie cutter system that tries to go through and pick individuals that have more of a say than you do. That's not how it works. That's not how freedom of speech works. That's not how constitutional rights work. This is what happens when people cheerlead for censorship. And Rolling Stone, surprisingly, Rolling Stone, the biggest cheerleaders of censorship, you saw the Joe Rogan interview, is reporting on this. And you think Rolling Stone would look back and go, oh, maybe we shouldn't be cheerleading that? Maybe we shouldn't get the government and federal officials involved in, making sure there's no misinformation. That we got to stop all the people that are having different takes and conversations. That we have to make sure we continue manufacturing consent. This is just downright insane, revolting. And we've already seen cases before this. We've already seen the damaging effects this continues on. And I just don't know how many people are willing to take the fight and actually stand up for this. Because it's just going to get worse. It's going to get worse as time goes on. And all these people, all these shit libs out there that are trying to, say that this is good work. This is for the safety and benefit of the community. That we silence out individuals because they don't go with the flow. They don't trust the science. They don't trust the government. They don't trust the official narratives. This is what you're hoping for. This is what you're praising. Is that an FBI raid goes to a journalist's house, takes all their documentation, takes all their publications, their works, their hard-earned reporting, takes it all away, and then wipes them away from society. To the point we don't even know where he is now. We don't even know if he's alive. Let's be honest. We don't even know if this guy is alive. That is how damaging this all really is. This is why people need to stand up for freedom of speech across the board. You should be fighting for freedom of speech for people that you hate the most right now. Because why should anyone have less of a right to their opinions, to express themselves, to have the freedom of press than you do? That is what it takes. That is what it takes. That's what the constitutional rights are there for. It's for every single individual. Not just for the people you like. Not just for your favorites. Not just for certain individuals that fit your narrative. It's for every single person. And now you have government officials cracking down on journalists. This is indeed a violation of constitutional right. This is indeed a violation of all things that our society is supposed to be built on. And it's only going to get worse from here.